Hey there, this is Kat. And thank you for joining my show today, Stand Out and Grow with Kat Ramirez. And today I have a very, very cool guest that I want to bring on. Before I go into the guest, I just wanted to let you know I have moved my live podcast from Fridays to Monday. Fridays was a little deteriorating, and I was a little saddened by the non attendance. So I'm hoping Monday will work out way better. And I'm sure after I get a few going, um, you guys will join me more often on a Monday, and we can get the week started with some exciting things and topics so that you can stand out and grow your business. But today I want to talk about my special guest, who I think it's fitting because I met Matt on LinkedIn, and I met him through my side hustle, which is Golfing Buddy. And we got to chatting, and I really love his story and what he's about and all the things that he's doing. Matt is an Army veteran, and he's as founder of Next 18, and he's doing some really wonderful things. For veterans with PTSD and mental health, so that it was really what stood out for me, and what he's doing, and then his story. His story is probably the most compelling thing, which for any entrepreneur, your passion is a little bit about, some of the challenges you have and how do you overcome them. And that kind of parlays into what you do today, right? So let me bring him on. So without further ado, I will bring on Matt Mc. Is it? I don't want to butcher your name, Matt McDonell.
McDonald.
Okay, that's
McDonald.
what I thought. Yeah, I'm just so used to calling people by their name, not the last name.
Right.
Although in the military we're called by our last names, right?
Yep. And I've heard every iteration that you could have of my last name. So it's okay.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me first off. And before we get into the nitty gritty, just give my viewers and listeners a little background about you and who you are and what you're doing.
So I'm Matt McDonell. I was born in Michigan, moved to Wisconsin in grade school. I've lived in the North Shore area pretty much my entire life. At the age of 27, I left for the military. I joined the Army. I joined a little late in life, but I think that kind of helped the progression of everything for me. I was in the Army with the 173rd in Germany, Airborne Infantry from 2011 to the end of 15. I deployed to Afghanistan in a combat role from 12-13. I was medically retired at the end of 15. Got out of the military, moved back to the North Shore, and I started a lawn and snow company. I was using all the resources that the military kind of gives us, the GI Bill, disability from the military to kind of help me to start that business. And that went on for about 3.5 years. Um, that is where I experienced my hurdle that a lot of veterans face. I didn't realize when I got out that I knew hurdles existed in the community for veterans, but I didn't really understand them because when I got out of the military, I was getting my MBA. I lived in the North Shore. I was happily married. I was doing all of these things that when we're exiting service, we plan for. And then we get out and things seem to be going good. But for me, there was some medications that I was put on by the VA and also while I was on active duty, some sleep medications and some other medications to combat blast exposure and TBI and TMJ. And long story short, the providers at the Milwaukee VA wanted to take me off these meds, but the way that they did it after being on them for 4 years was grossly inappropriate. There should have been a better titration plan. It was basically you could stop cold turkey after a couple of weeks. That led to suicidal ideations, almost an attempt on that. It ended up taking 18 months with some providers in Milwaukee outside of the VA to properly come off of these meds. And in the period of that happening, My spouse left. She didn't really want to stick around for that ride. I had to sell the business. It was either take care of myself mentally and physically, or take care of 10 other humans that I was dealing with at that time, because the business had rapid growth, and managed 300 plus clients on a weekly basis. So I had to make the conscious decision to take care of myself. That got me to about 20, and COVID hit. And while everyone was dealing with COVID, all I did was I went back to one of my passions that I hadn't done in about 8 or 9 years between the military and small business ownership, and that was golf. I was fortunate enough to literally walk on to Fire Ridge Golf Course in Grafton. I just told them financially I was okay from the sale of my business. I just really wanted to reconnect with the game of golf. And I knew to be able to play it the way I wanted to, taking a job at a golf course meant that I could play for free. So I used those business tactics of mine. How can I make something work for me without having to spend money? And I worked there all year. I developed a really great relationship with the owners. I think I played like 120 rounds of golf that year. And while everyone was dealing with COVID, I was outside playing golf, kind of detached from what was going on. So that in a roundabout got me to where I am now. So.
Right. And so, okay, so let's just kind of narrow in on some of the things that you
Sure.
said. So, because I think a lot of people probably don't understand the dramatic effects of mental health, or some of the PTSD problems that people, and PTSD, quite frankly, just for the community, is a lot of people can be affected by it in various different ways, in regards to what is PTSD, and it's a traumatic experience that you have. So it's not always necessarily in the military. There is PTSD that people have in everyday life as well. But for your case in point here, is this is for a veteran movement, right? A veteran movement to help other veterans come together, unite, and really not think about their problems, right? If not for a couple hours a day, something, and come together with other veterans and just come as a community, right? To collaborate, talk, and be able to feel comfortable enough to talk to other people. Is that the whole mission behind what you're trying to do?
So you're on the right path. And at the end of the day, so we're a mental health nonprofit. We're filed as a mental health 501c3. We take care of veterans and first responders. There
Okay.
are a lot of commonalities, both good and bad, that both of these communities deal with. Depression, PTSD, moral
Yep.
injury, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, suicide. And through Next 18, we try to provide kind of like a platform over the course of 3 or 4 days where we step up the education. We provide about 3 to 4 hours of mental health and holistic training each day. And through these modules and the game of golf, the hope is that we're slowly building the participants up, helping to understand how to deal with the internal struggles and the anxiety and the panic attacks that come with having to cope with these emotions and process them, so that by the end of a 3.5 day camp in a closed environment, my participants are able to, if they feel comfortable enough, kind of unpack their rucks and
Yep.
share in a very closed environment what they're dealing with, because the hope is that they've heard other stories as we're going through the camps, and they've been able to identify, yeah, you know what, I'm not alone. I have been dealing with the same thing that so-and-so in the group is dealing with. And it's
Yep.
compassion and empathy, and let me finally dump this stuff that I've been carrying. And I know you mentioned PTSD, and I definitely think that's a big part of it. But I'm getting my master's in social work right now, and I've been in a really heavy clinical environment with a bunch of veteran providers. And the word that I learned about 10 months ago was moral injury. If you're not familiar with moral injury, I recommend learning about it. It mirrors PTSD in a lot of aspects, but it comes down to more traumatizing events or moments that kind of shift your compass, that go against the morals and your values, and you kind of had to endure these traumas, and it shifts the way you look at the world,
Yep.
and
Okay.
it affects a little deeper. And I think more than the PTSD, I suffer personally more from moral injury from my
Yep.
deployment. So it's teaching our participants that this is a thing and kind of helping them process, because when we get out of the military and you go through the disability process, I think most of us are just categorically told we have PTSD and it's a 50% rating, and that's it. And that can be really stigmatizing and really invalidating if you're having these other symptoms that aren't being addressed. So that's something that we try to do with the camps as well.
Okay. So that makes sense. I guess my question to you, Matt, is how hard is it for you to get in contact or to get more people to step up, right? Because I know that a big thing for veterans is pride, right? Pride is, we're taught that we can endure anything, and I hear and see this all the time. We're taught to be soldiers, to take it in, to that we can withstand anything, that we're kind of like Superman, right? Superman, Wonder Woman, is that we're built up to be this machine. But then when you come back home, right? When you come back home, or you come back to your a regular life, things are different.
Right.
And you're not being told now that you're the greatest and you're this machine anymore. And so there's a major disconnect, right? Major disconnect, because now you feel like, well, where's my place, right? Where's my place? How do I belong here? Because I don't feel right, you know?
Right. In the education that I'm getting right now, one of our providers uses this. It's called wearing hats. And in the military, your identity is the military hat, right? And
Yep.
when you shift to being a civilian or a veteran, you put a different hat on. You still identify as a veteran, but now you're no longer on active duty, and you kind of have to learn how to assimilate back into the population. And it's funny because sometimes I hear veterans say things like, "Man, I wish people would just get me," when
Yep.
we're in my opinion, we're coming from a place where we're such a minute part of the world now when we're in the military and we're training to go to war, and then we go to war. We're the ones that have to adjust when we come back. It shouldn't be everyone around us, but it's navigating how to do that as a collective so that civilians and veterans can do it together, right?
Yep.
And I agree with you. I was in Germany for 4.5 years. When I came back to Wisconsin, I had a structure here, a support structure, but I didn't have any military structure here. All of my teammates that I had deployed with were still in Germany. The closest teammate that I have now is 2 states away.
Hmm.
You lose that sense of self and team, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing with first responders. Imagine you're a police officer for 15 years and you retire. You're not going in every morning now for that morning brief and seeing your team. So it's the camps allow for these participants to come together in a closed environment. We're out on a golf course, we're having a good time, the sun's out, and you kind of see this progression from our first 2 camps of this like trajectory. Everybody comes in and they're, what am I doing? Arms crossed. Why am I here? Why did I sign up for this thing? And by the end of the camps, they're all hugging each other, exchanging phone numbers. And it's like, we've just created nine other individuals for you to feel safe when you leave here to connect. And we
Yep.
have some more long-term stuff that we're planning with like virtual check-ins every month so that alumni can come back to the trough for more resources. This year we started a indoor golf league. We have the golf outings every year that we're doing. So we want the camps to almost be the starting point,
Hmm.
and the lifelong resources that we give from here out is a support network for everyone.
Okay. So I guess my question is, in regards to all of this, because I'm a big fan of golf too. Why golf? Why did you pick golf?
When I was going through everything that I was going through, subconsciously, I think my body knew I needed to get outside first of all and get
Mhm.
back to a hobby. And the first hobby I ever had in my life was golf. So
Yep.
you kind of revert right to childhood. What is the easiest way for me to get to where I want to be? And
Yep.
that was golf. I had the equipment, I knew how to play. So I took that job and I just immersed myself in that.
Yep.
And then I started reaching out to some organizations that I was connected to, like Semper Fi Fund. They're a national nonprofit. They had a program called, among all the other things they do, it's recovery through sport. And it's kind of like Next 18, where you could spend 4 days learning how to golf or sailing in Seattle. I went skiing with them for a week. Their whole focus is just getting the participant, getting the veteran to be engaged with a group and just
Yep.
learning a sport. And when I saw that, I said, this could work with just golf, but I was I was sad that they weren't also providing mental health resources, because it seemed like, hey, you've got some of these camps have like 20 participants, and that's cool, right? Next 18 or Semper Fi Fund, that's their thing. It's just recovery through sport.
Yep.
Next 18 kind of takes that model and throws in the mental health too. So I saw where maybe as a business mind, like maybe we could extrapolate on this and add a little more to it and make it more valuable. So that's kind of what got it to this. And there's so many intrinsic things inside of the game of golf that tie into mental health. The pre-shot routine with mindfulness and breathing and getting your pre-shot routine down. Being in nature, being outdoors, being disconnected from the real world for a couple of hours so that you can just focus on this thing. So it
Now,
was inevitable.
yep. Now, I think that I commend you because I think you're taking your nonprofit to the next level in regards to you personally educating yourself to become someone who can clinically talk to someone, right?
Right.
And you're doing this because you're like, well, if I'm out on the course with these guys, then I want to be able to, yeah, help them and help in a clinical sense so that it's not just you just saying, "Hey, Duke, you can do it," right?
I had to fix myself before I fixed others.
Mhm.
And I think the most important thing for me, the education is twofold in that A, I want to educate myself so that I can educate the participants, but there was still stuff that I needed to process through. And this, especially this internship that I'm doing right now, really allowed me to address the things that I hadn't quite come to grips with from my deployment and my time in the military. But also, eventually we want to have 20 to 30 camps here. We want to be across the country. But when I'm not running these camps, I want to have, as a LCSW or a master's in social work, I
Yep.
want to have the ability to take veterans in the community in Milwaukee. And my caseload is maybe 10 vets a summer. And what we do individually, one-on-one, we just go play 9 holes and we talk. It's talk therapy. It's recreational therapy. I kind of want to pilot this program because I know a lot of veterans and a lot of people in general, first responders,
Mhm.
that one-on-one sterile environment with a psychologist, it just
Yep.
doesn't work.
Yep.
And we've seen this model in other modalities. So I want to take my passion and make it this little niche and
Yep.
go from there
Yeah.
and
I
show other people that you can do this, right? Like, here's
Yeah.
the path. If you want to do it right, get the education and then do what you love.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it sounds like it's a great process and it is a great fit because I think I agree with you. Like a lot of times people don't want to go into this cold dark room or whatever room with someone else and just disclose things that are just quite painful and
Right.
and so when you can use a distraction to get someone to feel comfortable with golf, what a great way to let someone release themselves, right? Is they're distracted with the game and they're just having a conversation and feeling a little more comfortable. But I also agree with the outdoor environment because I personally play golf because it's a relief for me to get away from, right, the phone, the computer. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm stressed out, and the more that I'm in front of my electronic products, the more I'm going to be tempted to just work, right? Work
Right.
or pick it up or do something. And so to me, golf is an escape. It's an opportunity to get out in the outdoors and just take a break, right? Just
Yeah.
take a break.
And
Ah,
it's so cool when you see the participants, they'll start their day on the driving range because we get about 2 hours of lessons from local PGA pros. And
mm-hmm.
maybe every 20 minutes we'll stop a module and we'll come back as a group and we'll do a 15-minute breath exercise. And then they'll go back and they'll hit balls. But you kind of see them, even on the first day of the camp, right? They're all in a line. They're all kind of together hitting the balls. And you start seeing that dark sense of humor that vets and first responders have. And that's like literally where it starts,
Yep.
is the little jokes and then being like, oh, they get it. They get these things that my civilian spouse doesn't get, or my kids don't get, or my coworkers don't get. And those little interactions, then they go out and they play 18 holes and it's in a scramble format. So you're forced to, you all hit your balls, but you all come
Yep.
back to the best ball, right? So 95% of the time they're on the course, they're together as a threesome or a foursome.
Yep.
And it's organic. You're connecting. You can't play around a golf and not talk to the people you're with for 4 hours. So
Yeah.
it forces the interactions. And before the end of the camp, it's no longer forced. It's like really, they're looking forward to the next interaction.
That's awesome. Now, is this the camp and the organization? It's both male and female, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what year is this for you?
This month is actually the end of year one.
Awesome.
So it's weird because, right, the way the seasons are, we
Yep.
we did the 2 proof of concepts at the end of last year because I needed all summer to prep for it. And then we had the 2 camps in September and October, and they took off, and the attention, and it was like, okay, we've proven this thing.
Yep.
All winter it's been, all right, let's prep, let's get an advisory committee set up. We filed for the 501c3 last year, that got approved. We're building this organically. We're doing what we need to do. Yep. While I'm getting my schooling and education. We have 4 camps this year, May, June, July, and August. We're fortunate enough to be up at Kohler, Whistling Straits,
Yep.
the Bull, Washington County, and Erin Hills. These are like some of the top courses in the country. And the wellness groups that work with these courses have been amazing. They see what we're trying to do. They understand it. So they're allowing us to do this at the cost of golf is expensive to play at Erin Hills or to play at Kohler. So they're working with us to allow us to do this at a point where it's feasible for a brand new nonprofit. We just got our first large donation. I'm still processing the donation that we got. So it's happening. We're Yep. growing, and we're just kind of navigating everything so that we can keep adding camps and keep adding material.
Yep. Is this an opportunity to give a shout out to your donor or no? I mean, it's up to you.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. Okay. It's a group out in New York. Tom Black, I'll just say his name with 2 Sigma. So I'm still processing the whole.
That's awesome. Because that was going to be my next question is, okay, so we know that if you are a veteran, that's what is the qualification to attend a camp and be a part of that?
So with veterans, as long as you have 10% disability from the VA, that's all we ask. And then for first responders, 12 months as a first responder, and that's it. It's hard because first responders don't quite have that disability rating that the military Yep. does. So to justify it, but those are really the only requirements right now. And you don't need to know how to play golf. We literally give you 6 hours from PGA pros to teach you how to golf. We're working now, gathering clubs. We've been reaching out to people, right? So that when the participant comes, we can literally give you a set of clubs and a bag. And when you're done with the camp, now you have these clubs so that you can go play this game. So we're all of these things, right? We're putting together so we can make it as easy as possible and low barrier entry point for this. So
That's nice. That's awesome. Okay, so we know about the participant. Now, how else can someone give or help? Because you're talking to my community, and this is like over 120,000 people on
Sure.
LinkedIn, my YouTube, my Facebook. So how can people help if they're watching or listening to this and they say, Matt, I really want to help out. How do I help?
I would say the most important thing is if you have a veteran or first responder in your circle, uh, let them know about what we're doing. Secondly, funding. Funding is always going to be an issue, and I hate having to discuss it, but it's a reality of the game. Whether you're a $10,000 a year nonprofit or $100 million, you need the funding. So if anything that we're saying resonates with you, and this seems like something that you'd be interested in supporting, you can go to next18.org, or you can email me at matt@next18.org. I can give you all the information you need. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram. Instagram, we try to post as much material as possible on mental health. Each day we're posting for extra resources for the people that follow us. And then unorthodox approaches. If you have a company that maybe wants to sponsor the outing, one of the events or a whole, and you're in the area or you're not, we always need food donations for the camps, like power bars and things like that. If you have
Or
golf
golf
clubs,
supply? Yeah,
yeah,
golf
golf
supplies.
supplies. If you have access to that and you want to donate as a public 501c3, we have the ability to give you a tax donation for that. Um, if you're a member at a private course and this sounds awesome and you think it would be cool as we naturally grow to have us come down and run a camp in another state, these are all things that we would love to talk to you about. Right now, it's just helping us spread the word.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to recap that for people in case
Sure.
they didn't get any of that. So if you want to help out and you know somebody who has a need, just give them the link, reach out, connect them somehow to next18.org. Or if you have the resources and you want to financially donate, is there a place on the website where someone
Yes.
can just make a $20, $5, anything?
Yep, you can go to
Okay.
next18.org, and on the top right, there's a donate button.
Okay. So financially, you can donate, and this will help fund them
Right.
to play golf at these places that a lot of the golf associations and clubs are gifting, but also there's fees and other things that will help. And so the money is being used to help these guys play golf. And then if
Correct.
you have any clubs or equipment, anything like that, and it can be gift cards to golf places and things like that, Matt.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything golf related, they're willing to take and they're it will get distributed. It will. So clubs would be awesome because he is trying to get a collection of them so that if people attend and they don't have clubs, then they have clubs for any of the attendees. Awesome. And then the final thing is get the word out. So
Yeah.
he would love it if you could help get the word out. And I will share the links in the comments of all the social media. So if you did not catch it, again, it's next18.org. But again, it's about sharing the information and getting as many people involved into this organization that does help veterans with mental health issues. Okay, so then the other thing, Matt, when's the next event and what do you have going on and what is it about?
So the next day event will be our first camp this year. That's May 9th through the 12th at Kohler and Whistling Straits. And then immediately after that, we have our first golf outing June 1st at Western Lakes in Milwaukee, which is west of Milwaukee. So we're already full for Kohler. We're already full for Erin Hills, which is in June as well. So our first two camps are full. We're almost full for the two after that, but the outing and that first camp, I'm really looking forward to getting back into the flow with the camps again.
Yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic. And then I guess for me, what is the 5-year plan?
Yeah.
Where do you see this going in 5 years? And maybe sooner, but I always say five
Yeah.
years.
I see us having a multi-state footprint. We want
Yep.
20 to 30 camps a year. Wisconsin, you can only run so many golf camps up here a year because of the weather.
Right.
We've already been talking to places in Florida, Texas, Arizona. These are natural locations to go in the winter. They also have vets and first responder
Yep.
communities. So national level with this, I hope to be done with school in about 16 months, so I can start going into that with the recreational therapy. My education has really taught me that I think the area of focus for me is moral injury and how recreational therapy can heal that. So tying all of this into like some level of research and how I can better provide these resources over the years.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. So, what if someone is listening, watching, and they're a veteran and they have a big heart, and they're like, you know what, we could use this here in another state or another
Yep.
city or whatever. Is there an opportunity for them to reach out to you and start,
Yeah.
you know, a pro? Okay, okay. So if
Absolutely.
anybody,
Absolutely.
uh, okay, so if anybody is thinking like, hey, this would be great in our community, and would love to get that started up and running. Matt is totally open to that. You just got to reach out, right? You got to reach out and talk to him.
Correct.
Awesome. And then as we wrap this up, Matt, any closing remarks, anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure you throw in?
I think it's important, we kind of touched on this at the beginning, right? The whole alpha male or the stigma of we can tackle everything, right?
Yep.
I've been humbled by the fact that like I've had to learn that you can't, and no human can tackle everything that life throws at them. And I think we really need to get past this stigma of you can, and it's we need to be understanding that it's okay to speak up. If you're dealing with something, you're not the only one that's dealing with it, and more often than not there are support structures in place and people that are willing to talk to you. You just have to be okay with asking for help.
I agree. I think that's probably the biggest and hardest thing to do for not just veterans, for anyone, is just ask for help. And so that's great. That's awesome that you threw that in there. Thank you so much, Matt, for being on my show. I do appreciate. I think this is a very, very awesome topic. I'd love to have you back on after your a couple of your outings and hear some of the success stories, because I can foresee a lot of success coming out of this, because what a great opportunity to help veterans, and I like the new labeling too. I like that.
Good. Thank you. And I hope to see you out there with Golf Buddy
Yes, yes, I'm going to
June
try.
1st. So,
And yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's on
uh,
my calendar, and I really am going to support it as however I can, for sure.
awesome.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kat. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Stand Out and Grow podcast. I appreciate you. And thank you again for taking the time out to listen and be a part of this. I hope that you do. Uh, Check out next18.org. It's a great opportunity to give back. So, people always um, try to look for a purpose or try to look for something that they can, pay it forward. This is a great opportunity to pay it forward. And if you have the opportunity or the resources or, the wherewithal to pay it back or pay it forward, this is a great organization to be a part of. So, again, until next time, you got this.